maybe at this time you could share your beginnings and help us to help the rest who were not a part of this charter membership. Even you that came later, you have things to share about Devonshire that's unique in its character. So I'm going to hand it over to Ralph a bit so he can really start it off and share the things that he's knew about Devonshire church in this
well, first of all, I'd like to talk about Brother Hodge, since he's talked about me. Not behind my back, but I'm going to talk about him. When we came to Devonshire, I actually didn't know Larry that much until we moved to Devonshire. And of course, just some background, and I know all the history was in the last program, the last homecoming that Devonshire had. I just wanted to share that I was baptized, my wife and I were both baptized, like Ben. We were baptized together in 1971 at Hamilton Church. Billy Lewis was the pastor then. And I thought Hamilton would be my church for life. So Brother Dunkley came to me about 5 years later. And thanks to Jerry D. Lewis and 2 crusades he had, he baptized about 200 people. And he wanted to teach those people himself. He had all of the new believers class up in the youth center up there. Every Sabbath, 200 people would go up there to study under the pastor. And then they'd all come down, and there wasn't even standing room at Hamilton Church. So we had to put downstairs, we put a television up, remember that? And then there wasn't room for that. And so the pastor and the president got together. Our pastor and the president would come together and said, listen, we need to get some people out of here. Brother Dunkley came and asked us, and Anthony Casey and myself, the deacons then, and we came to the first service. It was on the 5th of March, 1977. 2 days after my daughter Leah was born, so my wife was still in the hospital, so she missed our first service. But I have to tell one quick story. The funniest story that ever happened in Devonshire while we were here. Our first communion service. Does anybody remember that? Yes. Well, the deacons remember it really well. Everybody was just getting used to what we were supposed to do, and everything looked beautiful. The deaconesses had set everything up. The bread was ready to be broken, and so we served the bread. Pastor Lee lifted up the top of the wine bin, and then he put the top back on. He called the deacons. He said, "Where's the wine?" And did we not have the wine in the glasses? We didn't have any wine in the church. And so Brother Frank said, "Hey, brother, I got a bottle of grape juice in my fridge. I'll go down to Flax and get it." And so the church was out here singing, and the world is cold up yonder, I'll be there. That went on and on and on. And my wife was wondering where we were. And we were waiting for Brother Frank to get back. Well, he came back with a small bottle of grape juice. And 60 people had to get served. And to this very day, I believe the Lord pulled out a miracle on that one. Because that half bottle of grape juice served 60 people that day. And I'll never forget that. That was the funniest thing. No wine for communion.
I remember that event fairly too. I can say that God increased the wine. But I just want to go back a little further to the crusade at Bernard's Park, because that's my journey there. And I remember being invited by Elder Douglas Tucker, senior, Pastor Reno, and he used to attend St. George's Church, but this was an island-wide, and he took me down to this crusade, and I see this guy got this very large afro and was wearing platform shoes and foul-bottom big man, but he spoke like he made the Bible come alive, and he was packing out people every night. I mean, the singing was so great you could hear it up on Dotton Avenue and Teal's Hill. That's how the people sang back then. And on that crusade was, I think it was supposed to be about 6 weeks. It ended up going for almost 8 months. I remember a Sunday worshiping friend of mine said, this pastor was telling people, like, don't go down there, because when our members go down there, they're going to come back. And that's how the influence of this pastor was so great through the Holy Spirit. And even when rainy nights, I remember going, and we would have to put planks across the field because it's a marsh area to get to the that was the journey of mine. I got baptized out at Adventist House during that crusade. When the crusade was over, I was really disappointed. But it was starting to go up into September, into rainy months. So they had to end the crusade, even though Pastor Lee was not so much as a church pastor, but more an evangelist. He didn't care for board meetings that much. He just wanted to win souls. And so when I went to Hamilton Church every Sabbath, Hamilton Church really had Devonshire Church had a real natural birth. Because when I used to go to Hamilton Church, by the time 11 o'clock came, around the entire church, around the walls inside, the man had to stand up because there wasn't enough room. And so around the entire church, men would be standing up because we just didn't have enough people. And that's when I heard the call from Elder Dunkley and Sister Stu. She became like my mother in the church. And she always bring me biscuits and stuff on Sabbath. You're a person. Larry, this for you. And so she was really a person that, so they started having meetings. By that time, I was in the pastor's class. And they were having meetings about organizing and starting up Devonshire Church. And I would go to these meetings. I really didn't want to leave Hamilton. But I came from Devonshire. I was brought up on Hermitage Road. And so it had a personal reason for me to go there. And but I remember all those meetings that they were having about organizing the church. They were recording new people to come down. They were recording experienced people to come down with us who were in the church for 8 years.
Well, we had a wonderful time. Now, I understand there's some slides that will come up, and we're going to continue. We talked about it, and we're going to just going to be, this is not a formal talk, so we're just going to let the slides go up. I think there's 62 slides. You're probably not going to see them all, but we'd like to go through the slide presentation.
Okay, Larry? Yeah, that's the field where we had the crusade, and you can see the water there. It used to be like that, and we would put down planks and stuff to walk across to the field where Eddie Lee was having this crusade too.
So I think we'll just keep trying to move on, but that is Elliott School. That's where we had our first meeting. We were there for a while until they needed to do some renovations, and we were moved to Devon Lane School. And even though I missed it, it was from Devon Lane School, just down the hill, right there, that we moved up to this space that we had built. That would be a whole story how this church got built. So these are some pictures. This is Brother Anthony Casey, Elder Anthony Casey from Devonshire. I was hoping he'd be here today, and I'm hoping he still may get here this way. Sister, yes, Stowe, Sister. Jordan, yes, and that was our president, Elder Carter, and his wife. It was he and Pastor Lee who made this happen. Pastor Lee is there.
Yeah, that's Pastor Lee. I'm not sure. And is that President Carter in the center?
Yes. Pastor Goldborn, who was president at one point. I think that's me with the shaking hands, Pastor. That's given to us. I didn't recognize myself. My wife had to say, "Yeah, that's you." Yeah.
But that's where this is the transition. Once it went from Pastor Lee, then you start to see some photos of Pastor Gibbons' time at the church. And Pastor Gibbons, he was fresh out of West Indies College. He was ready to go. And I remember he had a major crusade that we used to call it Frog Lane there. And I remember at that time we had left Devonshire to do a crusade during that summer. And during the summer, that's when they told us that we couldn't go back to Elliott School. So we were nomads for a time at Frog Lane and we looked all around for a new place. We had all our chairs and everything that belonged to the school, to the church, under a tent. I still remember during that crusade, The enemy came in and tore the tent right in half. And we had all our chairs, all our hymn books, and everything there. And we had this gentleman from Angle Street who used to be a seamstress, and he bought this big sewing machine up there, and he was up there days sewing back the tent because that was our home. And then London James was the one that offered us Devon Lane because we couldn't find anywhere else. So we stayed out there months and months in this tent. All our hymn books got read, but you know what? At that time, we just kept doing evangelism. And more people were won to Christ in the midst of that situation where we were out there like nomads.
Yes. I just wanted to know if you could go back one slide, if possible. Yeah. Now that lady you see sitting up front, I didn't have a clue who it was. And so my wife, after several times, figured out it was her. She had just gotten a haircut. I did not realize, we didn't realize who it was. It's been that long. Yeah. Okay, we can continue, sorry. Pastor Lee and his wife, I wanted to mention Pastor Lee. He did something that hadn't been done to us at the time we'd been in the church. He invited the married couples to his home on Saturday nights. We could have informal talks, and we never forgot that. Pastor Dunbar, once he became pastor of this church, he did the same thing. He would invite us into his home, the married couples. And we think our marriage is stronger because we had at times with those two pastors during that particular time. So Pastor Lee, as you know, he helped to start Devonshire Church. He was officially our pastor. We were not a church, we were a company. A company is how a church starts. And after it gets together and it functions, it then becomes a church. So during the time we were a company, Pastor Lee preached there, and he preached out to Devonshire.
Yeah. I'd like to say also that during a short period of time, Devonshire started out as a new church. And in a short period of time, it passed the membership of Warwick, it passed the membership of Midland Heights, and it passed the membership of St. George's Church. In a short time that Devonshire was in existence.
I think Pastor Gibbons in his crusade baptized about 68 people. And most of them came here to Devonshire Church. It was an amazing period of growth for the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I think the Royal Gazette covered a story. We were one of the fastest growing churches during that period. So many people were joining.
I think they had the census during that time. And the census showed that the Adventist Church was the fastest growing church in Bermuda. And Devonshire was the fastest growing church in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. But what was unique at that time, we were the fastest growing church. And we were also building a building.
Yes, we all remember that. I think Palmer Wade and Brother Dante had to do with it, but they purchased what was a banana patch right here. And someone gave us a good deal in it. We bought it. And then we started putting aside some money. And if you haven't heard it before, there's such a thing called double tithe. You pay a 10% tithe and 10% went to the fund. And that fund helped to buy the property, build the tank, and we started to come up. And then the engineers said, there's no way you're going to put block on block that high. And so we had to have a company come in and they had to do a forming and pour the walls had to be poured. And that's when they had to get to the bank.
But one of the interesting things was about Devonshire Church also at that time. We put the members on notice that we wanted to buy this land and we wanted to pay for this land in one day. And I never forget the stewardship Sabbath we had. We gave people an opportunity, like a year or something like that, to figure out how. I think everybody had to put in $3,000, Craig. And we had a bucket or something up there. And that Sabbath, as the money was coming in, and the treasurer was announcing how much we had, $5,000. Now we got $6,000, as they were comfortable. And by the time the service was over, we had raised the full amount in one service to buy the property. And that was a Sabbath of rejoicing.
Followed by work down here, the guys would be those people like me who didn't do construction. My job was the shovel and the mixer, and we were there until we got tired. The ladies were cooking, and like Bermudians did it in those days. And up to a certain point, we put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to make this happen. And we're thankful that the Lord gave us the strength. And you know, the average age of the Devonshire members that started this, if I go by another thing I just recently started around the same time, the average age would be about 75. And so it's been a long time that it happened. And unfortunately, and well, it's the circle of life. Many people are not here, and we sort of mourn for all the people that have gone that way. And we looked at the list the other day of the original 50, and not many are here. Some have moved from Devonshire Church, but I have to say that my wife and I did not move because we necessarily wanted to. I started singing with a group outside the church, Choral Dynamics, and they sang there once a month. And then the rest of the week, they were singing every month, they were singing everywhere else. And I found it was months and months I wasn't coming to Devonshire Church, not because I didn't want to, but because I couldn't. I made a commitment to them. And so we decided we might as well join Southampton Church. At least we're there once a month. And so that's how we ended up moving. So we can keep moving on to the next picture. We can't make out everyone in these pictures. Some of you may recognize some, so we'll just keep them going unless we see something that we'd like to stop it. But in the meantime, I wanted to mention something else about Brother Larry. We started to talk about things that we liked, and we found something that we both enjoyed, and that's photography. And we would just get in the car and go to different places around Devonshire and take photographs, and we would compare our photographs and talk about it. And that's something we did. We became sort of best friends during that period of time. We were doing everything together, and it's part of our family. So I'm glad that I have the privilege to be doing this with Larry today.
And you know, I remember we used to put a different photograph of somewhere in Devonshire on the front of the bulletin every Sabbath. I think the first photograph was, we took that photograph coming up here between the golf course down here in Devonshire. It used to be a wooden bridge there for golfers to walk across. And that was the one that stuck with the members the most. Bridge over troubled waters. and we kept that bridge on our bulletin for years. They take the bridge down now. You know, when I look back, there was, like, every movement usually has a song, like, you know, back in the day, the freedom movement, we shall overcome. Devonshire had some songs too. I remember Shirley Francis.
Yes. Redemption York Night.
Yes.
Signs of the Times.
Yes. Yeah, we sang that every time. And Elder Dunker's song was wonderful, wonderful. Everybody that started with Devonshire Church, I'm pretty sure still remembers that Dirty Camp out.
Yes. My wife and I were trying to remember the song that Shirley Franks sang, because after a while, Elder David Steve Sr. would sing it with him. They'd do a duet. It was absolutely, remember? Sure. I called my wife the other day. I couldn't remember the song. And all of a sudden, the Lord brought it to me. Yesterday, driving to Hamilton, I said, honey, write this down. Signs of the times.
Yes.
So I'd remember it. Signs of the times are everywhere. We can see them in the air. Keep your eye on the eastern sky. Lift up your head. The redemption draweth nigh.
I remember when we used to do street ministries. The one-man band would be there anytime you called on him. That was Shirley Franks.
Hold this slide. And I cannot, since you mentioned that, I cannot leave out a pianist for quite a while. So that Alberta, yes. I just want to mention this slide though. I am, and thanks to the Lord and thanks to they call it DCL, Devonshire Church of Love. I think we were all like the greatest family in all of Bermuda. That's probably why the church grew so fast. But I used to go to the hospital and I met this guy in a wheelchair. He was living at the hospital. He was young. There was nowhere to put him. There was no facility for him. John was his name. And I'd go down to the hospital and visit him. He could not walk. And I said, you're interested in coming to church? And we brought him here to church. And he became a member of the Devonshire Church. He was baptized. And he became a great friend as well. I used to feel good every time I went to see him. And then we ended up hanging together here at Devonshire Church. So this is John. Do any of you remember him? Yes. John? What's that? Oh, he was a sound technician. Yeah, sound technician. Okay. We moved on. Listen, I did not want to leave here either. I didn't want to leave Hamilton. I did not want to leave Devonshire. But thank you for holding that slide.
I want to say too that Devonshire was under Dunbar, was a well-trained army at one point. We introduced Bible instructors to the Bermuda conference. We were training people in the twos to go out. And we had this course, and it was kind of an intense course. And we trained people to be Bible instructing courses. And people went out in groups. And we always had lots of Bible studies. I remember also we had college meetings. I remember going to Wealth and Julie's house to college study meetings on Friday night, where we would have peanut butter sandwiches and bread, drink, nothing else. Yeah. And we would all sit down and study the Bible, children crying, but
yes.
We would have a Bible study Friday nights, and in several places. I had one of my own, Royal Hill for the single people. So we had several Bible college meetings going on throughout the island, and it helped join members together. Understand each other a lot better when you get together in a private setting like that. And with the main goal is to encourage people to come to your house.
Yes.
And live out Christ's life through them and teach them the word.
Yes, I wanted to point out this particular picture. This was the only one that, the first one that we recognized ourselves in the picture. And it was taken right here outside the hall here, just outside. And there was something here. Can somebody remind me what was happening there? It was a dress-up night. It was a banquet here at the hall, and that's our president, President Albert Carter, who was president of the conference here at the time, and of course, yes, and our brother Paul, these beautiful ladies right there. And our brother Paul and my wife were very close friends, AY leaders. What was it? Personal Ministries. Personal Ministries. And they work really close together. Wapsie Stowe, Sharon, and brother and sister Fox. Dunkley girls. So this is the band. I'm trying to think. Anthony would have been on the congas.
Yeah, Anthony.
And I don't see my trumpet there, but we had Gary, Michael Can. This was at our house. You go back to, we can stay there. That sorry. So anyway, this was at our house. This is one of the fellowship meetings we had at our home. And back to the band. That's Barry Richardson, myself, Michael Taylor. Michael Can, I'm sorry, yes, and then the congas are there, so I know Anthony was a professional conga player, and he was there, and we we just had wonderful times.
But you know, one of the things I remember about that period there, you see the congo drums in the sanctuary services. That was kind of new to the Adventist church. Devonshire really revolutionized music in the Adventist church. That was the time when, you know, new types of music, like it was the Jesus movement time, it was the time of Andre Crouch breaking in, and Devonshire was breaking all types of barriers. I remember when the people wanted to clap, but we weren't clapping in those days. I remember Pastor Dunbar saying, "Now we're going to all clap together. We're going to start together," and we started just like this here, and then we got in heaven and we raised the clapping. It hit the ceiling, and you know, so Devonshire had a great part of development of music in the church.
We can go in the forward, the other direction again. Sorry. Yeah. So the skinny guy with the white shirt on, that's me in the back. And that's another time, I didn't remember who that was either. But you see Pastor Dunbar and his wife, Popsy, Michael. We had Bible studies at our house sometimes, more than once a week, 2 or 3 times a week. We were having group studies. People from the Marsden Methodist Church were coming up to our studies. We had a tremendous amount of time spent there working with people from the neighborhood. Most of our friends from the world were invited to join us on our Bible studies. A few of them got baptized. Elder Morris, Francis was one who studied at our house. Elder George Birch from Hamilton Church also studied at our house. And we had many, many more people that came to the house. And we went right to baptism in our studies. And then next thing in the church, it was an amazing time. So is that the last one? Okay. So that's the last one. We've seen 62 slides, but it's been a real privilege.
Well, it's been a nice morning.
Absolutely. And I thank you for the 2 calls that I don't remember.
That's okay.
Yes, I came back from surgery April last year, and Larry called me twice. And at that time, I had no memory. I was recovering from being out for hours, 18 hours of surgery, and it actually took my memory for a little while. But I won't forget last night's square.
I just want to say in my last verse that God started a good work of Devonshire, and when Jesus comes, it's going to end with a good work of Devonshire. So I'm really proud of our young elders that we have here today. I took a picture of them last week, and I just thought about how God has led them as young people coming up in the church, and how God groomed them for these positions. So I'm just thankful for everybody here, and most people have touched my life also that have come from Devonshire.
We want to.
All right, so we want to thank Larry and Ralph for facilitating this portion of our look back. You know, we're reminded that we have nothing to fear for the future, except what? We forget how God has led us in the past. So history is important, because the history details where we've been and gives us the confidence that where we are now, there is still a way, pathway forward. So on that note, we're going to now move over to our Sabbath school lesson and invite our teachers to take control of their classes. We have a class right here on my right. We've got one right here on my left. We don't have one in the center. So those of you who are in the center will have to decide, are you right wingers or you left wingers? But you have to make that choice, and you have to make it quickly. So thank you very much, and our teachers will now take responsibility.